Hi my scrappy friends, welcome to my channel today. Long story short, I've been having some dramas with my technology. My phone hasn't wanted to work, so I've got to start on this layout without recording it, but I've charged up another phone and so far so good. It's what I'm running with to do my process video. So you can see here, if you remember back to another share I did for Cut to You a little while ago, I created this shaker pocket, and I was just going to share in the Facebook group when I used it on a page, but then I saw this beautiful cut file. I can't remember what it's called, but I saw this in the October releases and I was like, oh, I know what I'm going to do. So I decided to create another project with this, but also using this. You can see I've cut it on white cardstock, and then this is kind of shimmery vellum. I'm pretty sure it's from our wedding invitations actually, but I've cut it also, I cut it 3 times on the vellum, thinking I might do some layers. So that's kind of where I'm at. I've done some gold splatters in my background, and this is kind of, I think, where I'm heading with this. So I'm going to pop you on fast forward and I hope you enjoy. Hello my scrappy friends. So I am back and you can see I'm just moving these cut files around. I'm going to strategically place some adhesive between the layers here, but I don't want to completely stick them down, so I'm only going to add a few dots here and there, so that the leaves and the edges all lift up and give a little bit of different dimension and stuff. So I'm just going to show you one of those. You can see I'm just basically putting a little dot of glue wherever the leaves and flower, well, there's no flowers, the leaves join on to the main stem part. So I'm just going to glue both of those together and pop those to the side to dry. There's the last one. And then what am I going to do next? So I'm going to stick my title to my photo, which I've layered one of the 6x8 pattern papers behind, and added some foam to that as well. I'm just lining that up. You could see that I added some foam to half of that title as well because I knew that it was going to hang over the edge. I've got some extra foam in bits that I don't need it, so I'm just going to pull that out and then chop it up and add little bits to that really fine writing. And I'm happy with that now. I'm going to place all these bits back. You can see I've got part of it overlapping and part of it underlapping. Underlapping, is that even a thing? Part of over, part of under. I'm tucking some bits so that it, like, part of it sits on top and part of it sits behind. And I really like how this comes together in the end. This is pretty much how I leave it, I think. Just fussing with all the little bits. I'm going to try these vellum pieces. Yep, I'm happy with those there. And then I am going to pull out the ephemera. So rather than sticking everything down, I decided to pull out the ephemera. I've sped this up super quick because I don't really end up using very much of anything. I end up pulling all the butterflies out, and what I've actually done is use my Cameo to do a cut on the pattern paper from the 6x8 with all the little butterflies on it. And that's why I've got so many butterflies in this ephemera pack. So you can see I start by laying all of these butterflies all around that leaf sprig. And I decide pretty quickly that I don't love it, but I thought I'd leave it in so that you could see my whole process. I'm like, nah, it's too much. I'm glad that I changed my mind from here as well. I'm glad I still think what I thought when I did it. Doesn't happen all the time. take all that back off, and then I decide I'm just going to add 3 to the top right and to the bottom left, and 1, so the same colours in the 2 clusters, but just making sure that I've got different sizes and shapes for each of the same colours. I'm really happy with how that's looking. And then I kind of went, oh, I think I want something extra in my background. Oh, no, not yet. So I'm going to stick what I can to my cut file, and then stick what I can of my cut file, both of my cut files actually, to my photo so that I can move it all as one piece. Because at this point I was like, I want to add something else here, but I don't know what, so I'll stick all this together and then I can work that out. I just want to make sure that that title is straight before I stick all these bits together. Sorry for my head. So that's been removed now, and I can move the whole thing as one piece. I decided I was going to add in a stitched circle. In hindsight, I wish I had made my stitched circle a little bit smaller than what I did, but that's okay. It still works. I just used my T-square ruler to find the exact center of my page, and I'm using my compass, and that way I know I've got an actual circle. I've gone around it, I think I ended up going around 6 times or something. And I've pulled the thread through to the back. So I've got all of my bits and pieces here. I'm going to layer some of that vellum basically straight on top of where I did that stitch circle, but I'm going to trim a couple of pieces off. And again, I'm just going to add a few dots of wet glue, just basically where the cut file joins itself, and then plonk that down. It doesn't need to be perfect, it is a subtle detail, but I really love how cutting it in the white and in the vellum, I've got this really soft, pretty effect, and you kind of have to look at it for more than a quick glance to notice all the detail. So I'm bringing that centerpiece back in. You can see I'm just making sure it's nice and straight. I think I'm going to stick that down next. Yeah, you can see I'm like, okay, how am I going to stick this without moving it? Normally when I do this, I manage to get glue all over my hands, which goes all over my photos. And again, I'm just adding little dabs of glue here and there on that cut file because I don't want the whole thing to lay flat on the background. Trimming off my excess. And at this point I realized that I really ought to, I wanted to stick the top layer, the vellum, to the cardstock behind where the butterflies were. So I've just done that. Like, what else do I want to add? So I try a few more bits and pieces. Again, I don't really add very much, but I found these clear stickers, and so I'm going to add, I decided that I wanted some more pops of that darker blue. They're in the background, but they're not really anywhere else, so I'm going to use these hearts. I'm using 2 outlines and a solid heart. I'll use one at the top, so there. I've got my 3 making a little triangle around that little cluster. 1, 2, and 3, and then I'm going to use the same 3 down in the bottom left hand side. So 1 solid one and 2 of the open hearts. Just gives a little bit of extra to the background without being too much. Thought about adding in these little arrows, but they were too, I don't know exactly what the word is but they were 2 something. But I did find this little paint stroke thing, and I'm going to cut that in half. I'm going to put one half down the left hand side of the photo. You can see I'm just trying to get that in under the layers there. And then I'm going to put the other half. I wasn't planning on doing this, but then I went, oh, I know what I can do with this. So I popped that up the top of the photo. Again, I just tucked that behind my layers. I'm going to add some dark blue splatters as well. I just felt like it just needed a little bit of something to bring that dark blue around the page a little bit more. And I think I'm going to add my journaling next. Yep, just going to write that in grey pen. Basically says something to the effect of everyone needs friends that insist that you get your birthday cake and sing to you at lunchtime when you go out for your birthday. So here are the close-ups. I really love how that shaker came together. I'm really, really pleased that I didn't put this on a card, and I do love how this page came together in the end. My original decision to go with that background paper, the sprinkles, I'm so happy I did it, and I'm so happy it worked out the way I wanted it to. Make sure you head over to the shop. I'll make sure I leave all the links below. The blog post will also be linked below.